Welcome to this week's episode of Religion Among Us. Join us today as we go inside the development of one of the world's most influential yet misunderstood religions, Pizzianity. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Religion has been a part of society for thousands of years, and over that time, several religions have come and gone, but none have had such great an impact on the world as Pizzianity. In the beginning, there was just bread, and it was gross. It had no flavor, and people didn't really like eating it. They searched far and wide for what to do to alleviate this desire for flavor. They tried putting rocks, bark, grass, and dirt on the bread, but it was still gross. Then one day, a miracle occurred. As a young man named Pizza was walking down the streets of Italy, holding his fresh, flat, unleavened, flavorless bread, he tripped and was sent rolling through the tomato fields, and ran into an older woman who dropped her cheese on his bread in the process. As he came to a halt, he realizes his bread had been covered in tomatoes and cheese. Out of curiosity and pure hunger, he devoured the new creation, and thus Pizza was born. Pizzianists have a few core beliefs, some of which include pizza being the source of peace and joy in one's life, that each individual ingredient of a pizza has spiritual qualities that add to one's spiritual mojo, that pizza sustains and extends life, and you see a person's true character by the way they create their own individual pizza. Over the centuries, many others discovered the beauty of pizza, and from this discovery, Pizzianity was forged. It took many years to establish this newly found faith, and several leaders came and went. But the most famous of all the great heralds of Pizzianity was Pizza, the young founder. His passion and love for pizza led hundreds of thousands into the crust. Pizza could be seen as a charismatic character as defined by Weber to be, quote, a person resting on an uncommon devotion to the sanctity, heroism, or otherwise impressive character of an individual and to the dispositions openly enacted by that person, end quote. He had a light, fluffy personality with a cheesy yet infectious smile. He was very well seasoned, and his eyes reflected like glistening black olives. People just loved being around him and followed his example in many ways. People couldn't help but want to stick close to him like fresh dough. After a tragic accident, Pizza found out that he was allergic to many of the ingredients that make up a perfect pizza. This devastated him to the extent that he abandoned the faith that he had himself started. Although many Pizzianists were unsure of where the religion would go after Pizza's departure from the faith, there were enough people who had memorized the recipes that the devoted followers of Pizzianity were around to stay. The recipes were written down and published as the Pizza Bible. It's significant that, as stated by sociologist Max Weber, quote, charismatic authority in its genuine form is of a character specifically foreign to everyday routine. If these, however, are not to remain purely ephemeral, but demonstrate a quality of permanence, it will become either traditionalized or rationalized, end quote.
Pizza leaving Pizzianity was a huge blow to the religion, but that didn't stop them from continuing to practice Pizzianity. After the Pizza Bible had been written, many rituals were put in place to help solidify religious commitment among followers. A sociologist named Durkheim said, "We say that an object, whether individual or collective, inspires respect when the representation expressing it in the end is gifted with such a force that it automatically causes or inhibits action without regard for any consideration relative to the useful or injurious effects." They wore pizza hats in order to be able to recognize fellow followers, and they still continue to today. It also reminded them of their commitment and what they were going to be eating for lunch. Other rituals include specific cutting of the pizza, ensuring that each piece of pizza had an even amount of ingredients. This led followers to believe that any pizza could become a personal pizza if you were dedicated enough. And incredibly, this increased dedication among believers. To eat a whole pizza was a great accomplishment in the church.
One less known ritual is completed during prayer. You place the tips of your index fingers together, along with your thumbs, to make the triangle shape of a piece of pizza.
Berger stated that every society that continues in time faces the problem of transmitting objectivated meanings from one generation to the next. Pizzianity is significant in society because society is based all around pizza. Society teaches people how to make and eat pizza. The individual contributes by making pizza and comes up with new toppings. It's the cycle of growth, making pizza better every time you make it and eat it. The classic expectation of pizza isn't a set recipe, but everyone knows what to expect when you say, "Hey, come eat this pizza." It's all based upon the social construct of religion.
Not sure where this religion got their information, but pizza is far from healthy. Yes, there are healthier options, but overall it is very bad for you. It does not have all the necessary proteins and dietary nutrition needed to survive. So those eating it every day will likely become diabetics within a couple years. The whole existence of Pizzianity is to benefit the pizza company. I'm not a sociologist, but I heard a quote from Karl Marx once that said, and I quote, "This whole semblance that the role of a certain class is only the role of certain ideas of comes to a natural end. Of course, as soon as society ceases at last to be organized in the form of class role, that is to say, as soon as it is no longer necessary to represent a particular interest as general or the general interest as ruling." End quote. As soon as people finally become concerned with health, Pizzianity will cease to exist.
A lot of converts to Pizzianity re-affiliated from disillusioned members of the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, as they are both derivatives of Italian cuisine. But the greater amount of believers converted from several vastly different religions, such as the Pinions, Vegans, the Founding Foilers, and Meowentology. According to Stark and Finke, quote, "Under normal circumstances, most people will neither convert nor re-affiliate," end quote. In the case of Pizzianity, it was just too good to resist. Stark and Finke also stated, quote, "Although it is true that some people do move from religious niche to niche in response to various factors, most do not. Most Americans who switch churches select a new church that is similar to their old one in terms of church sect continuum," end quote. In 1969, a radical group from the California Pizza Kitchen broke off from the main body of Pizzianity. They thought that the pickle was a more worthy food of devotion, and they called themselves the Picklets. They said that modern Pizzianity was too soft and undercooked, and didn't use enough salt. As more and more Pizzianists moved in the direction of the Picklets, a lot of tension and anger arose. The Picklets believed that Pizzianity was clouding the minds of its followers and needed to be destroyed. The Picklets struck in 1975, dealing a major blow to Pizzianity by pickling several pizza chefs from Domino's in a single night, decapitating a franchise. To this day, there are small clashes and raids between the Picklets and the Pizzianists, leading to several deaths due to pickling or pizza slap every day. This was much like what happened in the Mountain Meadows Massacre, as stated by Turley. Quote, "Over the preceding years, disagreements, miscommunication, prejudices, and political wrangling on both sides had created a growing divide between the territory and the federal government. In retrospect, it is easy to see that both groups overreacted." End quote.
Thank you for joining us this week on Religion Among Us, featuring Pizzianity. We hope you enjoyed the show. Visit us next week as we focus more on the Catholic Church.